It is a personal honor to introduce our next speaker, who will break open the theme for this 25th anniversary of the Ignatian Family Teach-In. Dr. Beth Ford McNamee. Yes. Beth is the Assistant Director of Campus Ministry at St. Joseph's University and so much more. She always introduces me as her colleague, and I'm really offended by that because I consider her one of my best friends. But don't be too hard on her because I really wanted to introduce her because there's a few things I think you need to know about her before you hear her speak. First is that she is the kind of person who brings her son to protests for racial justice, and she carries him on her back. She has taught me and so many students about Ignatian spirituality and how faith and justice are one. And she just finished her dissertation on lay leadership for social justice in Jesuit higher education. So welcome, Dr. Beth.
Hi, everyone. So my name again, Dr. Beth Ford McNamee. I'm a campus minister from St. Joe's University in Philadelphia. Woo! I'm also an alum of St. Joe's, and I'm a former Jesuit volunteer where I served in Tanzania, East Africa. I'm grateful for this opportunity to continue to break open our theme, our Ignatian Family Teach-In theme, Rooted and Renewing. Let's talk about our IFTJ roots in this 25th anniversary year. I actually could have gone to one of the very first teach-ins, but I didn't. When I was a student at St. Joe's, a friend was hopping in his car from Philadelphia and headed down to Fort Benning, Georgia. He invited me to go, and I said no. Maybe I thought I was too busy. I can't remember. It wasn't until years later when I happened to hear the founder of the School of the Americas Watch, Father Roy Bourgeois. I'm going to see if I can do slides. I don't know if I can do this or not. If not, it's okay. Okay. Father Roy Bourgeois speak at a conference that I woke up. I heard Father Roy's raw grief as he described his friends, religious sisters, priests, lay leaders, and thousands of innocent civilians who had been murdered in El Salvador. I heard Father Roy's passion for justice as he described discovering that many of his friends had been killed by people who had been trained in the United States at the School of the Americas in Fort Benning, Georgia. Among those martyred were the 6 Jesuit priests and their 2 lay companions at the UCA in El Salvador. Father Roy described fasting and praying at the gates of the SOA. He described committing nonviolent civil disobedience by carrying a loudspeaker onto the base, blasting a recording of the last sermon of St. Oscar Romero, the day before Romero was murdered, as he begged the soldiers of his country, "In the name of God, in the name of our tormented people, I beg you, I implore you, in the name of God, I order you to stop the repression." And so from that point on, I was in. I had what my spiritual director calls a surge of the heart. I had to go. I had to bring my body to the very place where bodies were being trained to kill the bodies of their own people with my tax dollars. I deeply desired to be in solidarity with others working for justice. I wanted to join my voice with those whose voices had been violently silenced. I said yes to this surge of the heart. I hopped in a church van with people I had just met, and I went. I remember attending Mass at the Ignatian Family Teach-In and praying with thousands of other people all together in the tent. It was cold that year. We were huddled under blankets. And I remember thinking, wow, this is what the church can be, a church that I want to work for justice with. Then, once I was back at St. Joe's working in campus ministry, I would bring buses of students each year to the Ignatian Family Teach-In in Fort Benning, Georgia. We'd arrive bleary-eyed, subsisting on peanut butter and marshmallow fluff sandwiches. We'd join thousands of other students, peace activists, and religious communities in front of the gates, singing each of the names of thousands who had lost their lives to the graduates of the School of the Americas. After each name, we'd hold up our white crosses and sing Presente, to make present their witness and our collective cries for justice. Then, in 2010, the Ignatian family moved their tent and the teach-in to Washington, D.C. We were still rooted in the dangerous memory of the martyrs, and we were now inspired to bring our voices to speak truth to political power in our nation's capital, which is what we are doing here this weekend. With this continued journey of the Ignatian family, I kept asking myself, for what and for whom am I willing to give my life? So take a moment now, write it down or call this to mind. You did say yes to join the Ignatian family this weekend. Why did you say yes? Who or what roots you? Let's talk now about renewing. And to do this, I'm going to add another word to our mix, radical, because the origins of the word root come from the Latin radix, or radical. So to be radical is to be rooted. Let's talk about rooted and radical renewing. Because when we are rooted in the truth of our histories, when we radically reckon with them, then we can reach and branch, bear fruit and renew. The invitations to that radical reckoning are many, and you will hear about them this weekend. The deaths of those murdered and martyred cry out for justice, and they invite us to prophetic, radical, renewing imagination of what if? What if our society, our Jesuit institutions, our delegations here were to fully engage in a reckoning magnified by the twin pandemics of racism and COVID-19? What if we truly engaged in intersectional reckoning for racial justice, for indigenous communities, for migrants, for those experiencing poverty, for all marginalized communities, and for our earth? What if we saw with the eyes of our hearts the truth that we all belong to one another, that we are one family, one body, and then when one part of the body is suffering, we all suffer? What if we all collectively acted out of love on the yes of that reality? So you, yes, all of you, each of you have beautiful gifts and stories and perspectives. And so many of you said this is your first teach-in. And now you are all part of this Ignatian family. You each have a unique call to respond. And so take a moment now. Write or call to mind one word that describes a unique gift that you want to bring to this shared work of justice, kinship, and solidarity. What gift do you want to grow or be renewed this weekend? My deep desire for you is that you say yes. Yes, to be truly present this weekend and beyond. Yes, to learn and grow our Ignatian family roots and branches. Yes, to engage in reckoning and renewing. And pay attention to the surges of your own heart this weekend. Out of love, to what and to whom are you willing to devote your life? The good news is that we do not ask these questions alone, and we do not walk this path alone. Sacredness abounds in this space. We are called together to be rooted, to radically renew. We are lovingly accompanied on this sacred journey by our God, by the witness of the martyrs, by the witness of one another, by our Ignatian family. And to this, let's say yes. And we're going to conclude our Breaking Open the Theme with a reading. Thank you.
Rooted in truth, we have all we need to do the work of renewing the earth. From the prophet Jeremiah. Blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank with roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green, and they never stop producing fruit. The Jesuit martyrs were rooted in the truth. Their roots reach deep into the people of El Salvador, the poor, the oppressed, the campesinos in the fields. They are the ones they loved and worked for, and ultimately gave their lives for. We are called on our campuses, in our cities, and in this nation to become rooted in truth, to bear witness with our lives as they did. In essence, to live a faith that does justice each and every day. Rooted in truth, we have all we need to do the work of renewing the earth.